So this is a concept called dangling modifier, and what it says is just that this introductory clause here, dressed in a crisp, clean uniform, and one signal will be that there'll be a comma here. This needs to be followed by the noun that it's modifying. So whatever is there in that red spot, it needs to be described by the information coming before it. So let's see if that's true in this case. Dressed in a crisp, clean uniform, it reflected the efficient manner of the tour guide as she distributed maps for a walking tour of central Canberra. Okay, so it is probably the tour guide. So that's what we're looking for in the blank. Since the beginning part is underlined, which is kind of rare with these kinds of questions, honestly, then we really have to look at each and every sentence and see which adheres to the dangling modifier concept, which one properly has the introductory clause modifying the noun that comes after it. Okay, so A sounds a little weird because it is not necessarily the guard. In fact, it's probably not the guard because it wouldn't refer to a person. So we could actually get rid of A because where it is, we'd actually need the tour guide. So let's check out B. Dressed in a crisp, clean uniform, the efficient manner of the tour guide was reflected as she distributed maps for a walking tour of central Canberra. Okay, the problem with this is that it's not the efficient manner of the tour guide that's dressed up in a crisp, clean uniform. So this one doesn't work. C, dressed in a crisp, clean uniform that reflected the efficient manner of the tour guide as she distributed maps for a walking tour of central Canberra. There's no active verb in this sentence, so it doesn't work. There's no actual activity in that sentence. Okay, D. The crisp, clean uniform of the tour guide reflected her efficient manner as she distributed maps for a walking tour of central Canberra. This is really interesting because it's gotten rid of the introductory clause. You could see there's no comma after this first comma, which is just listing the qualities of the uniform. And this also works with the rest of the sentence because it has an active verb. It's saying that the uniform reflected this woman's efficient manner. So then we could just assess E and see if it's any better. The crisp, clean uniform of the tour guide, a reflection of her efficient manner as she distributed maps for a walking tour of central Canberra. So there's no active verb here. If it said was, then it would be appealing. You wouldn't have a comma before it then, though. So there's no active verb in this one, so it can't be right. So D is right because it has no problems with it. Okay, number 10, page 408. By building new windmill farms, consumption of fossil fuels are reduced and tons of carbon dioxide emissions are kept out of the atmosphere. Okay. Let's see. So one thing that's not great about this sentence as it is we don't know who's building the new windmill farms, but that might not be the worst thing. So let's see what else these other sentences say. Okay, B. By building new windmill farms, it reduces consumption of fossil fuels and tons of carbon dioxide emissions are kept out of the atmosphere. It is not good in the same way in the last one. It was not good because it is ambiguous. We don't know what that's referring to, and the SAT hates ambiguous pronouns like it here. C, building new windmill farms reduces fossil fuel consumption and keeps tons of carbon dioxide emissions out of the atmosphere. This is good because it's more active than A. Whenever you have by, you typically have a passive sentence where the thing doing the action is not clear. Here, it's the act of building new windmill farms that reduces fossil fuel consumption. So this is a more active sentence. So just because of that, you could get rid of A because it's not better than C. A is more passive and therefore worse than C. Okay, D. When new windmill farms are built, they reduce fossil fuel consumption and it keeps tons of carbon dioxide emissions out of the atmosphere. It is ambiguous. We don't know what that means. So you get rid of it. E, new windmill farms, when built, reduce fossil fuel consumption, and also tons of carbon dioxide emissions are kept out of the atmosphere. This part of the sentence is passive because we don't have a subject that's clearly doing this action. So that one's not good. So C is the best one for this particular answer. Okay, 5 is a really great example of dangling modifier. Carried by the strong, dry winds of the stratosphere, the 1980 eruption of Mount St. Helens caused dust that crossed the United States in 3 days and circled the globe in 2 weeks. So we need this down here to be something that could be carried by the strong, dry winds of the stratosphere. So to say the 1980 eruption is kind of weird, because it's kind of weird to say the eruption was carried by strong, dry winds. We probably want it to say dust. So C and D are the most appealing, so let's look at that. Carried by the strong, dry winds of the stratosphere, dust from the 1980 eruption of Mount St. Helens crossed the United States in 3 days and circled the globe in 2 weeks. So that's good. Let's check out D and see if it's any better. Carried by the strong, dry winds of the stratosphere, dust from the 1980 eruption of Mount St. Helens that crossed the United States in 3 days and circled the globe in 2 weeks. You would need an active verb here because you have no active verb in this sentence. So C is the right answer.